What it do, guys, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at Gyre, and we're going to be updating an augment and an already existing builds, see the augment on screen there, from the past, but now we're going to make it a little bit more 2025 up to date, up to scratch. Now just really quickly, I'm aware that she also has a brand new augment, but there's currently some bugs going on within it, and either way I just wanted to go and show you guys this updated version of it because I still enjoy running the builds, but the other one that I had could use a bit more love. So here we are, we're updating it. So without further ado, let's just go and jump straight in towards the builds and talk about what we're going to see here and the changes that basically happens. Now the first thing to go ahead and take note of is we changed the subsumable. Now, when it comes towards Gyre, the subsumables that work really well on her is she's naturally quite squishy. Her abilities inside her kit don't have an awful lot of give, as in like there's not really an awful lot of ways to go ahead and survive. So Pillage from Hildren is like one of the best abilities that goes pretty well with her. So first of all, if you struggle with a build, consider Pillage, but once you've kind of got your build going, all I really want at that point is more damage. You see, I'm going to take less damage if the enemies are already dead, and since the armor changes that came through not even that long ago, we don't really need Pillage on a lot of our builds to go ahead and armor strip enemies. And again, the survivability, I can just go ahead and use shield gating and look after myself, or I can get overguard with like secondary fortifier and stuff like that now. So this is where I've got to go ahead and put Rhino's Roar in here, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be doing a lot of electric procs and enemies are going to get deleted. So just keep that in mind. So that's like the first thing to go ahead and say that's changed. Now in terms of stat priority, it's relatively the same. Number one that I want on my build is going to be range. As much range as possible is going to be able to inflict enemies a lot further. Now this build that you're going to go and see here is more focused on actually not really using any weapons. As in like I could just run around and everything around me will just die. And it generally will, which is awesome because I'll go and show you guys like how that all comes together. But furthermore, if I do go and use weapons, it just gets even better, as you could go imagine. But if I'm focusing purely on the abilities, then range is my number one thing that I want for my Rotorswell, which is my fourth ability down here. I want this to reach as far as humanly possible, okay? Mostly that discharge range all the way down there, I want that to go up as high as possible. So try and get like way over 200 range, okay? Whether it's be like 205, 235, to whatever it is, 265 or even 280, just trying to get over 200% range. From there onwards, it kind of, this is where it gets a little bit weird. So you want duration, but you don't need lots of duration. And the reason for that is because of this augment here. So it basically states that Cathode Grace Augment, eliminating an enemy whilst Cathode Grace is active will release an additional discharge from Rotorswell with 200% damage and extend its duration by the same amount. Well, basically, if you know how this ability works, which we'll get into again in a moment, since this is going to scale inherently in itself or innately in itself for every enemy kill that you're doing, it's basically now going to go ahead and apply that same kind of scaling mechanic, but also to your fourth, which means two abilities now have their own individual timers so long as you're active. And that's the whole point about Gyre. You're looking to be active. This is a I'm gonna run you down and kill you type of Warframe. She's chasing the game and that's all she wants to go ahead and do. So that's gonna cover two durations. So the only other duration that I want to go and make sure that I've got relatively buffed up is going to be my subsumable option here, Rhino's Roar. If I had Hildren's Pillage, I probably wouldn't even need that much duration either. So you kind of get the idea. Duration, play about where you want it. I think you can drop it down to a 73% if you use Transient Fortitudes. I think you could bump it up to 155% if you did a Prime Continuity. Do you need to go higher? No. Do you need to go lower? No. Anywhere between 73 to 155 I think is a good spot for you. And then from there onwards, it's going to go ahead and be strength. Now I want as much strength as physically possible. I really want to try and get my passive and Cathode Grace, that critical chance, I want to try and get it up to at least over 200%, which is basically what I am going to be doing, because the passive scales on like how many electric procs are on enemies, but we'll get to that in a moment. And strength is going to end up just scaling that like naturally, which is where that you'll see we kind of focus strength into the build. So I got the Blind Rage, we'll go into the ability efficiency in a second. So I've got the Umbral Intensify over here, and you'll also see I've got these two Arcanes. So more augmented is on kill, I get ability strength, which is great. Now keep in mind, this is a killing build. It's all about killing, so it synergizes naturally with the idea that I'm killing to extend my duration. This is also going to go and kill to furthermore get ability strength. Do keep in mind though that when it comes towards your third ability, it's not recastable. So once you kind of build up max stacks with this Arcane, you actually purposely want to go like find a place to jump off the map which is really, really weird. You get 250 stacks here, you get 60-second cap on this. Now go jump off the map somewhere or find like a nullifier bubble. You purposely want to actually like take your ability off because it now scales with the new strength that you get from this. It's a little counterintuitive, like I get it, but it also just allows me to get more within that mission. So I like doing endurance runs, but not that like level cap endurance runs. I just like doing endurance runs. I like going in there, killing lots of enemies and just not shooting and just feeling like a badass, which is really fun. However, the opposite one of that one is going to be Molt Vigor, which basically means on next operator ability, so I go and switch over to my operator, I do an ability, I switch back to my Warframe, the next ability that I now go and press gets 45% ability strength. So basically, I always go ahead and start off by switching to my operator, using the ability, switching back, then pressing 3. Okay, so that's like how I start my rotation. That's why this is really good. Just go ahead and bump up 45% free ability. So that is better than this, which is 44. So you get the idea. So this is kind of like free, chuck it in now, off you go. So that does go and say things about like precision intensify if you wanted to go and use that, since it is going to be kind of a Rotorswell build. But also keep in mind, overall strength and like strength mods that can affect all of my abilities actually works better than me just going precision intensify here. Although that's 90% towards my Rotorswell, I can still go ahead and get critical chance from this, and I can go ahead and get overall faction damage on this one. Which, as you could imagine, both of those are going to be really good, so I probably wouldn't go precision intensify. You can do, I just wouldn't. So let's cycle back around towards the efficiency really quickly. I've gone for the blind rage. I absolutely adore this mod. It gives me the highest amount of strength, whilst it hurts my efficiency. And although, yes, it does go and hurt my efficiency, I will go and talk about this really quickly. On other Warframes, if you have technically low duration and you find yourself casting abilities quite often, I wouldn't use blind rage with Archon Stretch, because what you'll find yourself is you'll find yourself having problems. So if your KPM's not high, if you're not being able to look after yourself and you're spamming abilities a bit more often, this alone is not enough to look after you. This is where equilibrium would be to look after you. All right, so you'd be replacing that to go and look after yourself. But since a lot of her kit is essentially going to scale off duration anyway, so again, as long as I go and get kills, this and this, I never should have to recast, unless I want to recast it for that. But this and this, I should never have to recast. It's only raw that I need to go and recast at that point. So it's like, well, okay, that's quite a lot to go and work with. So that's where Archon Stretch can go in quite handy with blind rage, even though my duration is relatively low. Again, if your duration was low, but none of these abilities scaled off, how that works, I wouldn't consider these two together. They just kind of hurt you. But again, that's not the case here. So it gives me ability range and abilities that deal electric damage, restore 2 energy per second over 5 seconds. And don't get me wrong, everything does electric when it comes to Gyre. So it's very easy to go ahead and just get this continuously and consistently procced. Now, I will go and say this one is a bit more subjective. If I go and take that out, it is 240. 240 is kind of low though. Now, it's low at the beginning of the mission, it's not low when I'm in the mission. Does that make sense? So I would typically go ahead and use this like if I'm going to do like an exterminate mission and I'm just looking to go and blitz through enemies and switch my brain off. So if I do go ahead and do that, I want to be able to go and cast all my abilities right off rip. This is where my Archon Shard comes in for maximum energy on spawn. Or you could use preparation if you wanted to, you know, this mod here. So this is where I want to get more out of this as well. I want to be able to cast these 3 abilities right off rip. All right, so I want to go straight into my Cathode, straight into my Rotorswell, straight into my Raw. Now I just start running and gunning, but basically with her, she is the weapon. Now, if I don't have that, I can't do that, which is where it gets a little bit tough because my efficiency is so low. These abilities, that's 116 drain, that's 116 drain, that's 155 drain. So if I only have 240, you can do the math, that's way over 300s. I think it's even more than that, is it? I don't know. Anyways, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's close towards 400 drain. So this is where the Prime Flow does go ahead and help me at the beginning. But as the mission continues, I only really need it for the Raw recast. So even if I had 240, Raw's going to be fine on its own there. So if you want to go and put some Archon Shards in for like Azure, and maybe put like one singular Azure, like Talforge Azure in for max energy, you could do that. That's up to you. Now, again, this is all just range over here. So we're just making sure we got as much range as possible. Breathe for Spy basically just means on ability cast, I can go and give myself some overshields. Now, this is going to be like one of my only ways of surviving outside of maybe secondary fortifier, or maybe having someone else in my team who might go ahead and support. You know, I might have a Wisp on my team, which is great, by the way. I might go and have like a Dante or a Styanax. I might go and have like a Frost who just gives overguard. And if I do, great. You know, I don't have to work on like that defensive aspect. Now, if I'm soloing, my damage is enough to go ahead and look after me. The only one time that I would go and say that it's not fantastic is Violence Acolyte. Once Violence Acolyte spawns and it disables my kit, I really am like, uh-oh. So I kind of want to bring like a weapon to go and deal with that Acolyte ASAP, so I don't have to deal with Violence Acolyte. The other Acolytes kind of give and take, you know, they'll die, they will die, but it's not a tremendous amount of damage. It's not like you're two-shotting them straight off the rip. So this is going to be good, and that's why I keep my first ability here, is so that I can just go ahead and it's really low in drain, and so that I can go ahead and just throw this out whenever I want to try and just proc Brief Respite. Now, you could go and use things like Rolling Guard as well if you wanted to. Survivability, I'm just gonna tell you guys, fix it how you want to. I haven't had my issues with it, except from, again, like I said, violence. That's basically about it. Besides from now, if I'm doing exterminate missions, I've got no issue. I'm in there, I'm killing everything, I'm getting out, and I didn't even break a sweat. Prime Sure-Footed, again, because I'm going to be super aggressive with the build, I'm going to be on top of enemies. If I'm on top of enemies, I don't want to be knocked down, because again, I don't have defensiveness. So this is very, very important to this build. If you don't have this, you can go ahead and run things like Power Drift. Power Drift is also going to give you a percentile chance to be knocked down. So it's 30% instead of 100%, but it also gives you power strength, which is good. If you don't have that, you could also go and just do the normal Sure-Footed. It's a 60%. But no power strength on that one, so it's twice as good as what Power Drift is. And then if you don't have those ones, you can go and chuck in Handspring. All right, so if you do go and get knocked down, you can get yourself up just a little bit quicker. You don't really want to be on the ground at any point so that enemies can go ahead and just hit you with whatever they want to. You're very, very squishy. All right, so keep that in mind. Unless you go ahead and do Hildren's Pillage, this build is going to be quite squish. All right, so just keep that in mind. No, excuse me. So I think that should be like most of the things that I've explained inside the build. Let's go ahead and cover like a few more things and so forth. So let's go ahead and go towards like the Archon Shards next. Now, as for the Archon Shards, I'm going to be running the casting speed right off rip. This is because, again, it's quality of life. It's not overly needed, so please don't feel like that you have to go ahead and do Archon Shards. But me just having this, especially with things like Rhino's Roar and so forth, it's got a bit of an animation on it. Like, even if it's like a second or two, like a second and a half, if I could cut that down a little bit, it's quality of life. If you want more damage, you'll take the next couple of Violet Shards that we got, but I like the casting speed here. If you also run a Madurai Focus School anyways, then you do go ahead and get a casting speed on that. So just keep that in mind, which means you don't technically need this. But again, my quality of life is my quality of life. Deal with it. Over here, I have the maximum energy spilled on spawn. Again, this is right off rip. This pairs with the Prime Flow. This is a necessity for this build. Lock it in. If you can get a Talforge version of this shard, do it. If you can't get a Talforge version, don't worry about it. Just track in a normal Amber and call it a day, okay? But do get it in. It's so good, unless you want to use preparation. Now, these next few shards are very important. These are the Talforge Violet Archon Shards. You gain 15% ability damage on enemies that are now afflicted with electric status. Imagine this is like a condition overload, as in like you get no damage when you shoot an enemy that has no elements on them. Well, this you get if they get an electric proc, which they're basically going to go ahead and continuously get, because that's how things like Rotorswell work. It gives you guaranteed electric. Then at this point, the first proc, so when you first hit them, it doesn't do anything. Once the electric is then on them, then it starts ramping it up. And keep in mind, the way that these shards work, for those who don't know, is this is 15, 30, 45%. I basically go ahead and take the damage that I'm doing, and then I multiply it by 45% is basically what I'm doing. So it'll be like a 1.4 kind of multiplier on there. So this is really, really nice to go ahead and add in towards your builds. It just goes, you want lots and lots and lots of damage. I'll just quickly go ahead and give you a rundown of the kit here as well, because I'm sure there might be some people who might want to understand a little bit further. So I'm just going to talk really fastly. The passive, when it comes towards this one, this is what enables you to go and get critical chance on your abilities. She's one of the only Warframes that can actually get that across her entire kit. So her kit can crit, and she's all about electric critting. So keep that in mind, electric and critting. All right. Now, when it does come towards it, it's 10% critical chance per active electric proc on enemies. The more electric procs you have on enemies, the more critical chance you end up doing. The critical chance will only scale up to a maximum of 300% critical chance, which is reds. So you'll go and see reds at that point. This stacks additively to her third, which is Cathode Grace, but we'll get to that in a moment. And it it also gives you a 2x critical damage multiplier, but keep in mind if the critical tiers go up, that helps your critical multiplier. Okay, so that's basically what's going to be going on there. Now when it comes towards her first and her second on the builds, so you could actually go and do either of them. Her first is Arc Sphere, her second is Coil Horizon. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to say this thoroughly, please just use whichever one you want to. I've had times where I like the Arc Sphere, I've had times where I like the Coil Horizon, and I feel like sometimes I would redo this build twice so that I could just switch whichever one I felt like doing. I just like the Arc Sphere a little bit more because it's cheaper for my Brief Respite. That's it. Coil Horizon doesn't need to group enemies together. You're killing them. Okay, they are dead regardless. You don't need a group if they're going to die. All right, which is why I feel like you don't really need to run Coil Horizon. It's cool, and I think if you're a bit newer to the build and if you don't have all of the assets like I do when you're all like maxed out, then yeah, consider Coil over Arc. But once you do have everything maxed out, consider Arc over Coil because of the Brief Respite. Now up next we got Cathode Grace. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on this. It's 50% critical chance to weapons and abilities. So keep in mind that that's both. So whether you want to go and use a weapon with this one, like the Ocucor, I'll go show you my Ocucor a bit later, then this both work really well. Each enemy killed extends the duration of the ability, which then caps at 60 seconds. So you'll see that there's a duration kill kind of stat in there as well. The critical chance is additive to critical chance mods on weapons, things like Point Strike, which is the primary critical chance mod, or things like Pistol Gambit, which is a secondary critical chance mod. It's additive to those mods, not additive to the base of the weapon, okay? Now this synergizes with your passive, like I said earlier, and again, it kind of adds towards what's going on with your passive, which is good. And then if the timer expires, you enter a 60-second cooldown. But the way that the cooldown works is, for every kill that you're getting, you're extending the duration of the ability. Well, the cooldown's 60 seconds. If I maxed myself out towards like 58, 57 seconds, and then I like fell off the map or something else like that, it subtracts that from the maximum 60 seconds. So in this case, I've only got like 2-3 seconds left of a cooldown. So then I wait for that, and then I can recast ability again. So ideally, you really want to focus on trying not to hit nullifiers and fall off maps. Try and build it up to 60 seconds at least once, one time. Then if you end up falling off a map or jumping off, or you get killed or whatever, or maybe you just struggle to find kills, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter at that point. You won't enter a big state of cooldown. You can just go and recast ability if your timer expires. But she's a very, very active Warframe. If you are not going to be active, you're not going to have a good time with her. All right. And then finally we got Rotorswell, which again is another synergy towards the builds. So this basically generates a ring of electricity around her. This scales off range, going to reach further, which is why we want that. It damages enemies when it comes into contact with them with a guaranteed electric proc, which again is massive to what we're doing, because that synergizes with our passive, then that also synergizes with a Cathode Grace. You get 50% movement speed as well whilst active, which again is fantastic because we want to go ahead and move nice and quick whilst we're doing this. Critical hits from either weapons or abilities will discharge the Rotorswell to chain arc onto 5 other nearby enemies. So the way that this works is that with the augment included as well, is that you can end up getting like 2 lightning discharges from 2 individual critical hits. But then once you discharge, and every time you do go and discharge, you have like a 1-second cooldown. It's a little bit's taken, but basically you discharge an awful lot when you start synergizing it with critical. As long as you understand that, build range on it, and you're good, okay? Just go and keep it as simplistic as possible. Now, a few other things I'm going to show you really quickly. Now, the one that is really important to the no weapon build is going to be your companion. So let me go and show you the companion that I'm currently using, because I want to go and explain like why I use this one. You'll see this in a lot of my videos. It's currently my favorite companion because it does a lot of different things for me, but this one is actually very, very, very vital to what I'm doing. So this is called the Gyre companion. Now, the reason why I use Gyre is because it has this ability right here. It's called Arc Coil. Not only does it have a 10% chance to do electric, which again synergizes with her passive and all of that, she would end up just dealing more damage towards that enemy. Also, my Topaz shards, sorry, not my Topaz shards, my Violet shards also go ahead and synergize with this. But furthermore, so it saps 7 enemies within 10 meters, which again, if I'm not doing the run and gun builds, then I'm going to be quite on top of them. And then this mod here called Manifolds basically means all companion preset mods apply status effects from companion weapons. So this is a preset mod, and any mods that have this thing, this icon here, is basically a preset mods. And you can see that it says Die Rigger there, so it's this ability, which is why we put it here. When you got all these mods lined up, for those who don't know, imagine these as numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, exactly in that order. If you want the main thing proc, put it in slot 1, because that's how things, priority is actually very important when it comes to precepts. All right, just keep this in mind. If you didn't know that, you know that now. Similar to what you're doing with elements and weapons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyways, so we got this, we got this. Now what we're gonna go do is take a weapon. Now you can go and take whatever weapon if you want to. There's probably someone screaming at me saying, God forbid, take Tazakor. It also does electric within it, and it can also go ahead and ramp and stack things up. Now I'm not gonna lie to you, you can take Tazakor, okay? Tazakor is going to go ahead and do a lot of electric procs towards enemies and so forth, which is going to be huge, and you can get a good amount from it, like a really, really good amount from it. If you just want to go like viral electric, you could do, but this requires a mod on my Surgery the builds here. I'm not going to go over these builds because I'm not using this one, but this requires me to go over and then put in this mod on my Sentinel, which means I'd have to drop that, for example, and put that on there. You'll notice the only way that my Sentinel is attacking mostly is going to be from the arc coil. All right, so then from there onwards, I basically use Death Machine. The reason why I use it is because it inherently and innately has IPS values, and the IPS values can also be carried over with manifold bonds. So from there onwards, so long as I've got things like viral, I'm good. If you want to go and do viral electric here, you can do. It's just that the reason why I like heat still with the viral is because heat can also go ahead and lower their armor if they do have armor, which means they're more susceptible to being weaker. Therefore, any electric procs from there onward is just naturally going to go ahead and be a lot stronger. So I'm basically like lowering their damage reduction whilst also amplifying damage to health with viral. So it's like a debuff 1, debuff 2. And again, if they do go and get hit by it, then it's also nice because then they're just burning and they're not attacking me. But they're also going to be chain electric. So if you want to go even more electric, you can do, you would just do that instead. There's no harm in it. It's just I'm looking to go and ramp up my damage a bit more, which is why you see me use this. From there onwards, radiation and just magnetic. As long as I go and get those in there, I get all of this, and then this is nice. But these are not a necessity towards what I'm doing. These are more than necessity, right? This is more of I'm running like condition overloads with the IPS plus these, all right? So again, don't need those. As long as you've got viral heat, you're good. Or you can go and do viral electric. Hopefully I've been as clear about that as I possibly can be. The rest of the companion build is pretty much straightforward. I just go ahead and make sure that it looks after me. Guardian, Vacuum, Synth Deconstruct, but this is not really needed because we're not running Equilibrium. But again, still just nice because it's holstering weapons, can also go and reload them, which can synergize if you're using like a multi-purpose loadout like primaries and secondaries with it. You can go ahead and just get those reloading in passively whenever you go and switch between them. And just a little bit of protection and so forth, all right? But that's basically gonna be my companion of choice there. Now, when it comes towards my weapon of choice, if I'm doing a weapon build, actually, let me go and start with the other one, sorry. If I'm doing I'm not going to use a weapon build, I will use basically the Grimoire because I want Vomitification. Vomitification is gonna be a way for me to go and increase my ability strength, which as you could imagine works really, really well with Cathode Grace and Cathode Current, that like synergy there with the Rotorswell and the Augment, because of the fact that I won't be able to recast them again for quite a while. So the idea is I want to proc this first, then I want to go ahead and get into my my buffs and abilities and so forth. So I can use that if I'm doing the no weapon build. If I'm doing a weapon build, I personally prefer this weapon here. It's called Ocucor. Now, naturally, this augment that comes with Ocucor is called Sentient Surge, and it synergizes with what I'm doing anyways. As you can go see here, it says for each target eliminated, which I'm going to be a very high KPM build. That's my whole point. But then it refills Ocucor's magazines. Status chance and critical chance are increased by 60% for each active potential. So not only is the weapon reloading, not only is my abilities also going to be things like raw, things like the critical chance, all of that stuff added in. Not only am I going to end up just getting more overall damage, but it just synergizes so nicely. I think I lost track there, forgive me. Anyways, just a whole bunch of multi-shot on here. I have the Riven. If you don't have the Riven, you can just do a faction mod if you want to. Now again, you don't have to run Cascadia Flare. I've ended mine in Toxin and Cold, which gives me viral, and then they go and get heat. Again, like I said, it's a lot of debuffs onto the enemy to allow when I start flowing towards them, all my electric procs start going crazy and scale off of it. And again, critical criticals off of that. Not overly needed. Again, you can change it a little bit for her, but there is another mod over here called Conjunction Voltage. The only problem is that we don't need the reload speed on this, and I don't really typically overly care for the multi-shot as much. So, but it synergizes with the electric side of things. So if you want to go and take it and you want to go purely electric themed, you can do, all right? And then you can go and end this in an electric mod as well if you want to. But yeah, you'll just see, like, even when I use this, I just absolutely delete enemies without an issue whatsoever. Then I go and just use the Praedos. I use the Praedos for the particle velocity. There's really not much for me to go and say here. At the end of the day, whether or not I want movement speed from Okina, because the movement speed can synergize with the discharge down here, the Rotorswell, sorry, which gives me movement speeds. So if you go ahead and take Okina in Cardin instead of Praedos, Okina also goes and gives you movement speed as well, which then just gives you more movement speeds. I think you get 80% movement speed. So that's just kind of nice. You can do that. Or you can go and go for Praedos and increase your particle velocity. So rolls, bullet jumps, all of this stuff. Just again, I want to go quick when I'm in the builds, which is why this synergizes naturally. Focus schools, Madarai. It's too hard to not go and take Madarai right now. And it has two major things, technically three major things that I would say majority of builds basically want. Number one is that it's got sling strength, and sling strength is going to give me 40% ability strength. This is going to go ahead and increase my cathode current, my raw, my Rotorswell, all of that stuff. Can't go wrong. Pair this with the Grimoire, which gives me 60%, and this gives me 40%. Then I've got 100% there. Pair this with the Molt Augment, which gives me 60%, and the Molt Vigor, which gives me 45%. I'm going to end up having 205% ability strength. Just outclass the Arcanes, Grimoire, and Madarai. So you can see kind of like why I put all of that together. It just goes really, really well. From there onwards though, if I do happen to go down or anything goes wrong for me, I go Void Strike. I can get myself back up and fight for my last gasp down here to make sure that I'm in a good position. And then furthermore, power transfer. As soon as I go to switch out, and I'm doing my sling strength anyways, as soon as I switch back, I also get casting speeds. And again, casting speed is good on squishier frames where you don't want to spend time standing still. All right, so all of those things just kind of come together, which just naturally work very, very well with my, sorry, I just spat on my microphone there, with my build there. So I don't think there's much else to go ahead and cover. That's going to be it from that. So I'll go and put some gameplay up on the screen. We'll start off with just kind of like she is the weapon build. So as you can go and see here, I'm just basically running into enemies and they're dying. Now keep in mind this is steel path. Also keep in mind that these enemies are going to be anything between level 180 to 200s. So if this is how effective it is here, you can get a rough idea just of how effective it can continue to be. There's not many things that I go ahead and counter as bigger issues. Maybe if there was like Kuva Fortress Guardians that were immune to damage, so I'd have to go and switch out an operator into them. I have to go and do that. So that's like exterminate missions inside the Kuva Fortress. Otherwise, then it's just going to be things like Acolytes, or maybe sometimes Fraxes can take a little bit of time to go ahead and trickle on down. Again, this is why I like the viral heat coming over from either my weapon or coming over from my companion, because if I do go ahead and struggle with a little bit of extra damage to bring that target down, then this is where this comes in. Now, I wouldn't say that this is a great boss killer kind of setup though. All right, so if I'm the weapon, don't expect an awful lot of electric procs to go ahead and nuke a boss. That's not going to happen there. And then I'll put some gameplay up with the weapons. You can go see the Ocucor as well. And with the Ocucor, it's kind of the same gimmick. It's just I'm killing them a little bit further away because the Ocucor is kind of strong in its own anyways. If you wanted to go and use an arcane like secondary innovate, just go to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, you can go ahead and consider that as well if you really wanted to. But there's an awful lot of critical chance coming across this build when it comes towards Gyre. All right, so you don't really have to go ahead and do that. Just simply, if you are looking to kill enemies and just kind of run and gun or be the weapon, Gyre is your girl, and that is the whole point about it. You're looking to kill and have fun and just switch your brain off, consider Gyre. But again, you are paying attention to that timer. Activity is very, very important. It's not like you can AFK. It's not like you can go and just put her down and walk away. No, you're going to be active. So for those who are switched on right now and want some fun, this is your girl. All right, so I'm gonna go bring you guys back here. That's gonna be it for today's video. Hopefully I've explained all of that as well as I could, but this is just an updated build for one of the builds that I do go enjoy, but it's 2025 standard now. All right, so hopefully you guys go ahead and enjoy it too. But I want to go thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Like the video if you did, go and like it. Share the video with a friend if you think someone else will go enjoy it. And as always, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. I'll catch you guys again in the next video. Take it easy, guys.